Instagram. Good morning. A bit of an early morning, but actually I gotta be in the studio at 8 today. So I figured I'd get an earlier start. It's 6:50 right now in beautiful San Diego, California. And you are watching Pre-Gym Proverbs. If you're just tuning in, I'd like to hear from you. Where you watching this from? Send this to my folks on the East Coast. Let them know they can join us. Lionel, what up, bro? What up? How y'all doing? How are you guys doing? Let me turn the brightness up on this mug. This joint is mad. We back. Hey, where you guys watching this from? Let me know where you're watching. I want to hear from you guys. I just pulled up to the gym. I got my pre-workout. I switched up the flavor of it today. It's just kind of gross. Today is one of my favorite. Well, I got a lot of favorite verses, but today is one of my favorite Proverbs. One of my favorite verses in the Bible, really. Maines, what up, bro? There's a Denmark in the house. Vegas, okay. Upstate New York, I see you saying verse. LA, okay. West Coast, early risers. I love it. Good morning. Thank you guys for tuning in. It is the month of April. We've been doing Veda on YouTube, if you're not familiar. And I've been live streaming my Indy Jones 3 sessions. So if you want to see me actually work on it in real time, you should head over to Patreon. Maines, I know you're a Patreon. There's probably a couple patrons in here. Code Red Music, what up, bro? What's up? Oh, snap. There we go. We good. It's always funny when you're trying to be slick with the IG. You're trying to be slick with the IG and it just bam, falls on you. Yo, this flavor is so gross. I do my Pre-Gym Proverbs. This flavor is it's like some weird lemon ice or something. It's so terrible. Basically, what we do is every morning read a chapter of Proverbs from the Bible, which is a collection of books and different authors wrote. And Proverbs is written by a man named Solomon. Solomon is the son of David. David was a great warrior in Israel, great king. Long story short, as Solomon's becoming king, as he becomes king, God asks him, what does he want? And instead of asking for riches, instead of asking for power, instead of asking for anything material, Solomon asks for wisdom to lead God's people, knowledge and understanding. Boom. God gives him that, and he ends up getting everything else. So that's who wrote this book, and it's just basically like wise, common sense sayings. I guess kind of common sense. A lot of biblical principles in here. A lot of our positive self-help type stuff that people kind of frown upon actually comes from the scriptures, believe it or not. So one of the first self-help books was a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. Way back, I think in the 60s or something, way back in the day. I've listened to the audio version of it, and the entire book is like a Christian devotional. The phrase positive thinking actually came out of that. And so a lot of this stuff comes out of scripture, which is really fascinating, right? Another book is Think and Grow Rich, which is based on a proverb. And so the goal for me is do these, it keeps me accountable, and keeps me accountable and keeps me starting off my day with some word, while at the same time some motivation, if you will. How does it feel to be our culture's Gary V? Gary V is the homie, and I do not view myself as such. I just want to be me, Ruslan. I love God. I love my family. I love you guys, and I want to help as many people as possible, and encourage, empower, inspire them, and give them the tools, the practical equipping to build, businesses and lives that they can be like fulfilled with, live abundantly, and honor God with. And so, yeah, man, I guess right now that looks like a lot of helping a lot of artists, indie artists, with Fan Love Friday and the content I'm making on my YouTube. My thing is like, yo, how many guys can we get this decade, maybe next decade, to making 6 figures off of music. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to figure out how that's going to play out and how that's going to look. So you're an influencer right now. That's all I'm saying. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I didn't mean to like give you a super long answer, Mason. My bad. Hopefully it didn't come off pretentious, like I'm not this culture's Gary Vee. That's not how I meant it. So apologies. That's how it came off. I tend to be long-winded. That sounds like a Kendrick Cook. I tend to be long-winded. Good morning, Professor The Biz. You're in LA, right? I think you are. I'm not sure. All right, so one of my favorite Proverbs, Proverbs 4:23, reading Proverbs 4 because it's April 4th. I can't believe it's April. This is crazy. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Now, maybe some of you guys have heard this. Maybe some of you guys haven't. Guard your heart. What is your heart? Let's just start there. Your heart is the embodiment of your emotions, of your thoughts, of your your soul almost, right? It's like the combination of all these things, right? So we are to guard our heart. We are to guard, protect, right? If I'm guarding my son from evil, if I'm guarding my son from sketchy people, if I'm guarding my family from predators, I'm removing them from certain situations. I'm protecting them. I'm pulling them away. I'm creating boundaries with just weird things. Weird people like I don't, because I'm guarding my son. I'm very attentive to who's in a public restroom before we go into a public restroom. I'm aware of what's going on because I'm guarding him. I'm sheltering him. I'm protecting him. Right now, as a grown-up, maybe that sounds soft to you. Maybe you're like, oh, guard your heart. What you mean? Like I'm supposed to be scared? I'm supposed to be protective. Like I'm supposed to not do certain things. Yeah, he's supposed to be guarded. You're supposed to be aware. You're supposed to be sober, right? You're supposed to be in tune with the fact that there are bad things and terrible things happen in the world. That's what it means to guard, to be on guard, to be on alert, to be aware, right? So guard your heart, guard your emotions, guard your thoughts, guard your dreams, guard your visions, guard your desires, guard, protect, keep sheltered, keep in a place of safety, right? Above all else, above everything else you got going, above your finances, right? Above maybe your friendships, right? The hoodie says go dream. This is actually a hoodie from the homie D-Rock, where you guys was asking about Gary Vee. D-Rock is Gary Vee's right-hand man. So salute to D-Rock, very good dude. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Jody just chimed in, the homie. He said, boundary setting has been one of my issues with people. I tend to want to believe the best, but you'll see true colors when you set boundaries. That's a fact, bro. I'm with you, and I relate 1,000%. Heart was explained to me as the subconscious mind. Beautiful explanation. I like that. That's dope too. But if you pull up walls, won't you be walled in? Maybe. But sometimes you do need to be walled in. Sometimes you do need to be walled in from people that can take advantage of you and hurt you, right? So guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. So let's look at it this way. Guard your heart. Guard your emotions. Have some boundaries with people. Like Jody said, it's a great book called Emotional Purity, right? Sometimes we think that if someone isn't, we're dating somebody and we're like, oh yeah, I have sexual purity. And it's like, okay, sweet. So like you didn't bone your girlfriend. Like kudos to you, bro. Amazing. Fantastic. You're not boning your girlfriend. But have you set emotional boundaries? Are you praying with her? Because you really shouldn't be praying with any female unless it's your wife, right? Are you having conversations at 5 a.m. in the morning and not getting any sleep because you're just so in love, and then you feel like a complete zombie the next day, right? So we define guard and purity as just sexual, when it's like, no, you have to guard every area. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so somebody said guard system boundaries, so like having a filter in place. Yeah, that's that young love. But it's not just young love. There's a lot of old people that is like that way. You just want to hang out on the phone. RJ Collective, what up? They just want to hang out on the phone. They just want to waste time, right? And it's like, bro, like you're not only are you just wasting your days away, but you're also not guarding. You know what I'm saying? Could you give an example of what guarding your heart looks like as far as situations and responses? Yes, I can. So boom, that's one. That is a practical one, right? Relationships. Right? Guard your heart. Don't just open up. Another way, let's just talk about maybe like interpersonal relationships. Like, I meet a lot of people. I meet a lot of artists, right? And sometimes I would tend to be a bit too open. Like I'm like, yo, I'm an open person. I'm an open book. And it wasn't, I like making people feel comfortable. I like making people feel safe. But you shouldn't feel like when you meet people that they're your best friend. Like you shouldn't feel like you're super close to people. And how that usually works, and this is actually a manipulation tactic, they said, by like predatorial people. Is sometimes when you feel too close, that's actually a tactic to manipulate you. And they give you a little bit of information. They give you some secret. You know what I'm saying? You feel special because they gave you a secret. It told you something very personal about you. You know what I mean? And so it's like if you have like crazy amounts of trauma, if you've been sexually abused, you got these like crazy things that have happened to you. Like you don't just tell people that kind of stuff on the first encounter. You don't tell that. Like you have to keep some of yourself guarded, and vice versa. If you meet somebody and they're telling you this kind of stuff, that's probably a red flag. That's probably a red flag. What up from Germany? Hey, what up, bro? So that's that, right? Does that make sense? Like, it's like a very practical example. Ladies, especially you guys, ladies will have interactions with dudes, and the dudes will try and manipulate in a way to get closer and to establish rapport. And so they'll give you very personal stuff. They'll tell you about their past relationship. They'll tell you about their failure in that relationship, maybe, or how they were cheated on. And right, think about this from a practical standpoint. None of these are things you should be having as early on encounters. Like these are things that you should slowly get to know and figure out as you go. And so I think it's important to just be aware that that this is not normal, right? So guarding your heart, this is not normal. And emotional purity, protecting yourself from a mental health standpoint, you have to guard your heart above all else. Being with high drama people, meaning that, say somebody's just high drama and you're exerting energy dealing with their drama. You got to guard yourself. You know what I'm saying? You got to guard yourself from that, because you only have a capacity for so much. You only have so much willpower. Like, we pray for self-control, and the Holy Spirit gives us self-control, but and he could do supernatural self-control, but willpower is a finite resource, right? Meaning that you have more of it in the morning, you have less of it in the evening, you have more of it when you eat food, you have less of it when you're hungry, you have more of it when you're well rested, you have less of it when you're sleepy. Right? That's how willpower works. So if you have to exert your willpower because somebody is high drama, you got to now think about it and deal with their drama. You have to maybe not tell them things they need to know because maybe you don't want to snap on them, right? That is exerting your willpower, and that you're not having boundaries then with that person. You're actually not even loving them well. And so you have to guard your heart, and you have to let their drama be their drama and let their issues be their issues. And there's like certain things like we just don't even talk about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got people in my life that certain things we're just not even going to talk about because we're going to disagree, and I don't have no time to go back and forth with you on this specific thing. I'll support you in the way I can support you, and that's it, right? So guard your heart above all else for it. Why? So why do you want to guard your heart? Why? Because it determines the course of your life. If you develop a Messiah complex, or as we used to say in relationships, you become one of them Captain Save-A-Hoes. Meaning you're a Messiah. You got the Messiah complex, right? Like, you're trying to fix everybody. You're trying to fix everybody. You're trying to, we could talk about that. else? My man Trev said, what about guarding your heart against the Bible? Have to protect your mind, feelings, emotions, goals, movies, TVs. Affects people. Yeah, okay. It might be healthy for that person. It might not be healthy for that person to be in a position like that. Yeah. So look, this is what happens with Christians. I think we know we should guard ourselves from evil, right? I think that's, I don't say common sense, but I think we know, like, bro, don't look at porn, like, don't look at sketchy movies, don't listen to overtly satanic music, right? We kind of know that, right? Like, we know that don't, guard yourself from that. Not to minimize that. That's important. But I think some of us develop these Messiah complexes where we think that we are the catalyst to change everybody. So we do things like missionary date. We date non-Christians. And I know we're going to get somebody in here. They're like, I dated my wife and she wasn't a Christian and we've been married 29 years. Sweet, bro. You were the freaking guy that drove a motorcycle in traffic without a helmet and you survived. Fantastic, bro. Kudos to you. That doesn't mean everybody should hop on a motorcycle in the middle of traffic without a helmet. That just means you defied the odds in that situation. It doesn't mean that everybody should do it. So we date date missionary. You meet somebody and you're like, they're not a believer. You know that your worldviews aren't aligned, but you're going to do it anyway because you think that God's going to use you to save them, right? That seems to happen a lot in the Christian community on the internet. That's a big one. Sliding in the cats, DMs, Snapchat, right? And so you start having an inappropriate relationship with somebody that you shouldn't be talking to. That is going to change the trajectory of your life. Imagine, this has happened. Imagine you are trying to go and your motives are conflicted. You're attracted to this person, but you also want to share the gospel with them, right? And then imagine, God forbid, you do hang out with that person. Your motives are conflicted, and then boom, you slip up, you have sex, and the first time somebody gets pregnant, right? Boom, your life is now attached to that weirdo that you were trying to save. And now you have to deal with the ramifications of that, right? For it determines the course of your life. Now, that's a very hyperbolic example, very hyperbolic. Stuff could be more subtle than that. Your friend group, right? You are trying to help somebody, and now your friend group is consistent of people that maybe aren't the best for you, right? They say who you will be in the next 5 to 10 years is determined by the books you read and by the 5 people closest to you. Who you will be in the next 5 years is determined by the books you read and the 5 people closest to you. And so you're not guarding your heart. You have people around you that aren't in tune, on the same wavelength, dialed in with you. And that is going to determine the course of your life, right? See, sometimes we look at sin and evil and we look at it as these big, incredible mountains. And you know what I mean? Like, oh man, I can't do this, I can't do that, right? But I think a lot of what we deal with is more subtle than that. It's the little things. It's the things that creep in and we put our guard down and we don't protect ourselves. We don't have healthy boundaries, right? We develop best friends really quick and we date people we shouldn't date. And those subtle things that look good on the surface, Oh, I'm evangelizing. I'm bringing her to church. Oh yeah, I'm helping this person out. I'm sharing the gospel with this person. I'm speaking primarily to Christians, but this obviously applies to non-Christians as well. And we do things that we think are going to be helpful, and in turn, in the long term, they're actually hurtful. You know what I mean? You're actually hurting yourself, and you're not loving the person well, and it's going to be detrimental to you as well as them by having the Messiah complex. You know what I'm saying? By engaging and being close to people you probably shouldn't be close to. I'm trying to make this very practical for you guys. I'm a very practical, linear person. I leave them up for 24 hours. I got to back catalog them onto YouTube, but I will put these back up on YouTube. Dating should not be the first step in that case. Yeah, of course. But come on, there's another verse. Is this for GF, BF? This is for everybody. This could apply to business. This could apply to your inner circle, who are the 5 closest people to you, your best friends. The enemy started with subtle suggestion, always praying for discernment. Bad company corrupts good manners. Amen. There's another one that says, what is more, I think it's Jeremiah, what is more deceptive than the human heart, right? What is more deceptive than your heart? Your heart will lead you astray. So guard your heart. Guard your heart, because it will lead you astray, right? Because your heart will lead you and position you into places where you think you're trying to help, but you're really just going to hurt yourself, or you're going to hurt the other person. And so I think we're called to live much simpler lives than we do. I think we're called to be much more focused, much simpler. If you don't guard your heart and surround yourself with things that aren't good for you, it even as little motives. Yes, see, we could look on our actions, right? I'm in this relationship as a GFBF dynamic, and it's so taxing, but I felt like I was loving her like Christ, doing those. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about right there, right? You just pulled something from a completely different context, my man. I'm gonna talk to you a little bit, Shane. You just pulled something from a completely different context, which is marriage. Marriage, you're called to love them like Christ, right? Marriage, you're called to love them like Christ, to lay down your life for them. Not dating, my G. So you're now applying. That's like saying you're supposed to leave and cleave, and they're supposed to put you before their parents if they're younger or whatever, right? That's a different dynamic. That's not what that's for. That is for marriage. That's when you lay down your life. So why? Because in a marriage, that's in a covenant agreement. So if somebody has a rough patch, if somebody's going through a sickness, maybe someone's going through a mental illness, maybe somebody's just having a rough time in their faith, you're supposed to love them like you love Christ in that context. That's a different context. You're misapplying the scriptures, and you're trying to finagle stuff that wasn't intended for you to finagle. That's like saying, yeah, we're married in our hearts, and and it's okay for us to have sex. Like, no, bro, that's for a different season. That blessing and that command to not, in Corinthians, Paul says, don't deny each other sexually, right? That is for a different context. That's in the context of marriage. You're talking about loving her the way, laying down your life the way Christ laid down his life for the church. Like, nah, bro, if it's taxing, if it's draining on your mental health, if you don't see yourself starting a family with this person, odds are you probably need to get out of that. And the 4 things you should be looking for, do you agree on these 4 things? This is how you build a healthy marriage, healthy life. This is how things change. This is 4 things you got to agree on. The first thing is faith, right? Faith and how that plays out. You could even have the same faith, but completely polar opposite theological worldviews, and somebody might want to go to a specific kind of church. Somebody might want to go to a completely different type of church. Can you agree on that? So the first thing is faith. Do you agree on faith? The second thing is in-laws. What's your relationship going to be like with in-laws? Are they really close to their parents? Are you really close to their parents? Where are you going to spend the holidays? Is mom just going to be able to pull up to your house whenever she wants to and walk in? You know what I'm saying? In-laws. The third is finances. Are you guys in debt? Is she in debt? What's your view on money? Is one person just irresponsible, financially irresponsible, the other person a spender? It's not going to be very compatible if you don't address these things afterwards. And then the 4th thing is kids. There's a lot of people that get married that don't talk about kids beforehand, and then they wonder why they struggle in the marriage, because maybe one person didn't want kids, or maybe one person that wanted a big family because they grew up in a big family. They wanted 10 kids and the other person wanted 1 kid. That's going to create massive conflict. So those are the 4 things I would be looking to agree on. The worst part is we don't worship God together, and she isn't in a walk. Yeah, bro. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have to cut that off, my G. You playing yourself. The longer you let that linger, the more headspace, the more drama, the worse it's going to get, the harder it's going to get, and you're only going to play yourself in that process, and you're only going to derail the things that God has for you in this season, because you're now attached to somebody that you shouldn't be attached to. I'm assuming you've probably crossed other boundaries. I don't know what the dynamic of the relationship is, but maybe emotional boundaries, maybe physical boundaries. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. Maybe you got in that on some, Messiah complex, trying to save this person, trying to bring this person to church. And maybe they even went to church with you a few times. But you are not what changes people. God changes people. God changes hearts. We do not change people. We do not save people. We just are conduits for God to do what he's supposed to do. So listen, I appreciate you guys. I do this every morning between 6:30 7:30. So if you ever want to hop in, feel free. Veda on YouTube, I'm dropping a video every single day, kind of more primarily targeted towards artists, if you will. This is more like just for average people. And I'm streaming me making Indy Jones 3 on Patreon every day. So I'm doing live streams. There's just literally me in the studio, multiple angles. It's kind of dope. I think it's dope. People tune in and check them out. So hop on Patreon if you're not a patron, if you want to support it in that way. Indy Jones 3 on the way. If you haven't heard the Paul Russell album, guard your heart, because you're playing yourself. Open your heart to Paul Russell. Guard your heart from the other music you're listening to. Check out that Paul Russell record. It's fire. Starting a Faith podcast. Fire. That's what's up. So cool. Gotta hop on that. Boom. Just listen to a podcast right now. Simplifying life is an audience to one. Amen. All right, y'all. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a blessed day, man. Peace.